just setting up for a still life, and this is in my front room at home. So this is me setting up for a still life. Down here is a small table, which I'll show you in a moment, but it's a basic place where I'm setting up for a still life. Behind me here, this is a curtain which comes off my window, and I've decided to use this colour, which I would dampen down later in the shot, but as my backdrop, a nice deep red, easy to drop the colour in it when I get back into post-processing. I'm going to do a fruit still life. It's always wonderful because still life gives you the possibilities of doing everything that you want to do with a camera, and that is to control things, composition, lighting. Lighting I'm using is very basic. As you can see here, I've got a panel light which is like a video light. I use that not as key light, but I'm going to use a flash unit. It's going to be small enough to use one flashlight as the key light. So as you can see, I've just put the bowl on the table, put the fruit in the bowl, already looking like something like a still life, but I've still got, you know, a lot of work to do just to build it up and create a little world on its own on this table. But if you just look at this, the reason why this is really important is the way that these things, I just accidentally put it there, and it's got some radishes in the middle here, which you can't quite see, but they're there, and they create another composition. And this is the whole point, is thinking what is a nice, pleasing composition. As human beings, what we find interesting is the squares, triangles and cones that we observe in nature, and we actually repeat those in our own building work for the purpose of creating something pleasurable to look at, not only pleasurable but useful when it comes to architecture. And so when you look at your still life and you start building it, think in terms of architecture, in terms of, in your mind, putting things together, and do they fit together, do they correspond, do they also complement, and so they can be contrasting or they can be harmony. So I'm going to get on and build this a little bit better, create a surrounding for it so it's cut off from the outside world, so it begins to look like a real still life worth photographing. It is also important to think of it in terms of, okay, it's not overcrowded, but it does have a nice flow. It's a little bit higher here, and there's this line that goes down here, and there's a bit of a triangle there you can see. This helps, although I don't think it will be used in the end. You see a nice triangle here, circles here, and there's a bunch of little reflecting light circles of grapes, and it's very round, and then of course the oval dish. There was one thing I forgot though. Right after I'd taken all the shots, I realized that I'd forgotten my plums, and I didn't put my plums in there, which I always find really great fun. And you know, they could have gone in here. Look how it sort of contrasts against the grapes. The apples, it's blocking the apple, so I wouldn't really put it there like that. But if I put it here, then it creates it's a larger piece again, you see, and it would disturb the whole idea of it flowing downwards. And that's what I was looking at, is creating a flow down like this. Sometimes you can create a nice triangle that goes in here, or you can create a triangle to the side. Triangles are also, you know, very common in compositions, and they're very often used as the main framework of the composition. But there you have it. That's what I got. That's what I took photos of. The other point is the height of your camera. Very common is a sort of perpendicular to your subject, so that you've got a horizont, and you're photographing the whole thing horizontally at the same level. That's very important. You do that and you find you get some pretty powerful shots. But I decided on this one that I'm going to go a little bit higher, and I was just above it, and so I got a plane coming up like that, and the shots are coming from an angle that is very low but looking down at everything so that I could see everything on top. If you create a composition where something is much higher here, like a wine bottle, and then something smaller next to the wine bottle, maybe something thinner, and then it goes down to a nice triangle from the wine bottle would create the first post. and then it goes smaller and smaller, and in between you can put small objects using colour composition and various ideas. It's just so much to think about, and one of the most important things about the practice of still life photography is that for any photographer, doesn't matter what your real your gig is, what you like. Portraits, I love portraits. If you like doing portraits, headshots, if you do architecture, believe you me, if you practice still life photography, what you are doing is practicing every aspect of photography, and it will really hone your chops. It will really develop your skills because you're challenging yourself. And believe you me, I worked very hard on this, and I don't think it's brilliant, but I think it's pretty good, and I'm going to get something good out of it. We'll have a look when I show you end results. So here I am in front of my camera on my tripod looking at my still life, and I'm going to take a few shots. I'm going to see it in the frame, and this is the wonderful moment where you start to get really creative and you see the potential of something that is just a mundane object, a bit of fruit on a plate, and something you can turn into something really interesting, especially when it's in the frame. That's when you see it. And then when you take it from your camera and you put it into the computer and you start seeing it in a bigger version, you really see that you've done something great and all the work is worth it. There's a lot of work you put into this, but it brings some pretty enjoyable and fun results, and sometimes, who knows, you end up selling a piece. That's wonderful. So, going to take a few photos, see what happens. So there you go, job done. Not a bad photo. I took several shots and processed 2 shots only. Probably have a look at a few more as well. But I removed a couple of items, put a couple of items back in, made it more simple, and I think the results are fairly good. I'd print it out and put it on my wall for a while and then put it away someplace. So I hope you have fun with your still lives. If you want to know anything about still life photography, just put it in the comment and ask me a question, and I'll do my best to answer in the most articulate way so that you can take it away and use it next time you're doing your own still lives. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm doing my best trying to produce videos that are going to be very useful to you. Also sometimes just showing my street photography, my still life, my portrait photography. All of that, I love it. It's just photography, and it's a wonderful thing to do. So all the best to you, and have a wonderful new year, and let's hope that 22 is going to be a good one. It's about bloody time. See you then. Bye bye.